Mike Mulder here with Oakland head coach Thomas McDaniel. Coach McDaniel, I appreciate you taking a little time with us tonight.
Thank you, no problem. Glad for having me.
Coach, I spoke with Coach Shadowins, and I know both of you guys spent your off week watching the other one play. Did you kind of feel all along that this game would probably be the one that wound up deciding District 7?
Well, I mean, I don't know that you can ever say that in our district. I know that, early on from the, prognosticators or the so-called experts, they would tell you that this was supposed to happen, and I'm glad that we're getting to be able to be a part of it, but for me to say that I, would feel like this was definitely going to happen with both of us being 8-0, I don't know that I would have said that. I mean, I'm not speaking for Blackman, but just speaking for ourselves. We had a tough schedule, and for us to be 8-0 right now, we feel very fortunate, and we just hope, that we can continue to string along some good games and, make this one a competitive matchup this Thursday.
Coach, I know out of the 4 common district opponents you guys both have faced, the results were real similar, as far as points given up and points scored. How do you feel that the Patriots and the Blaze actually match up? What are probably some of the matchups that possibly cause you some concern from a standpoint of going up against the Blaze?
Well, I mean, obviously their quarterback is extremely dynamic. I do think that there's a lot of intriguing matchups that people will never really even notice or mention. I think, both sets of linebackers are very good, and on, the opposite side, we both have 2 good tailbacks. So, same thing with the secondary and receivers. I feel like the secondary is a strength for us, as I'm sure they do as well. And we feel like we've got some explosive receivers, and I know that they do also. So, all of those different matchups are interesting. I think none concern us more than any of the others because they are so dynamic offensively. But I would say that the principal thing that we've got to focus on is obviously winning the individual battles, but making the big plays when they matter. We don't know when those are going to come, but there's going to be 3 or 4, probably in the game 3 or 4 plays that determine the outcome, and we got to make sure we're on the positive end of those. And ultimately all the matchups, personnel-wise, that you want to talk about are all intriguing, but I think it'll boil down to the front. I think the offensive and defensive lines will dictate the outcome of this game, as most of them do. And if we're as dominant as we think we are on the line of scrimmage, then we'll win the game. If we don't dominate the line of scrimmage, then I don't think we will win the game. So it's really as simple as that when it's all said and done.
Mm-hmm. Coach, I'm kind of a student of the game, and in my free time, I usually spend a lot of time digging up information on teams all across the state. Now, the only stats that I could find on the Oakland Patriots were on the defensive side of the ball. Is that kind of your way of telling everybody else that, defense is what wins football games?
No, it's telling you that I don't know how to put stats in the max preps. It's funny you say that. That's ironic because it was actually today I got an email from my TV 30 about us not having our stats up on max prep. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't have known that unless somebody told me. I mean, I'm just not a stats guy. I don't focus on them very much. I mean, I think they're important for the kids and obviously for recruiting and those types of things. Now, I mean, I'm a stats guy as far as looking at the bottom line and what did we do well and not do well on Friday.
Right.
I mean, obviously I'm going to look at penalties, I'm going to look at turnovers, I'm going to look at the number of first downs, rushing attempts, and then the average, things of that nature, pass completion. But it wasn't until today that I even knew we didn't have any offensive stats posted. But that's not really anything other than just me not, unfortunately, me not really being a big that's not a big concern of mine. I got to get it inputted on the to-do list tomorrow, Mike.
Okay. Well, Coach, out of the stats that I was able to pull up, obviously defensive stats, Kevin Prather and Josh Smith, both juniors, are 2 of the leading tacklers on that Patriot defense. How important, I know you mentioned that you had some good linebacking crew. How important have those guys been, to the overall effectiveness of your defense this year?
Well, I think, quietly Kevin Prather has probably become our defensive MVP. Part of that's because, our interior defensive line. Obviously, Austin Barrett is a key cog in that. He's a senior coming back. He was he was the lineman of the year in our district last year. Mm-hmm. He returned. So even though his stats may not jump off the page, a lot of the time he's eating up 2 and 3 blocks for Kevin. Josh has had a solid year. He's been banged up at times. But I would say our third linebacker, Malik Coleman, has been a very pleasant surprise as well. I mean, I think he's second on the team in tackles behind Kevin, and forced a couple turnovers, had a couple interceptions and things of that nature. So, he's played very well also. So we feel like all 3 of our linebackers are very talented players, and it's a strength of ours.
Now, flipping over the offensive side of the ball, I know Fred Wade was out last year with that ACL injury. How big a role has he been this season? And is he? I know he's got the stats, but has he taken on a leadership role, being a senior there? In returning for a senior year.
Yeah, he has. I mean, the one thing that he's rushing right at 1,000 yards, and that's splitting carries with DJ Hood. Mm-hmm. If he was every down back, his stats would be probably even gaudier. But he understands that he has a role, and that he doesn't need to carry the ball 30 times a game. He needs to carry it 15 to 18 times, and be very efficient when he carries it. Make sure he runs with great power and finishes runs and things of those nature. But as far as the leadership goes, we're just in a different age from society as far as kids are a lot more to step in the leadership role. And I mean, it's one of the things I've learned over the last couple of years. Leadership's got to start from the top, and I think starting from the top means it's got to start with the coaches. You have to set an expectation. It's got to be a standard. It's got to be consistent. They have to know every day what's expected of them. If you vary from that, then usually you're going to get varied results. So Fred's done a good job of being consistent for us. He's not a very vocal guy. He just goes about his business and does his job, and he's played really well for us considering he's coming back off this injury.
Coach, I did, looking down that depth chart, I know you guys have got a lot of juniors and underclassmen in key roles this season. That's got to get you excited not only for this year, but, for next season. Are you expecting this team to carry on and be, as successful next year as what you've had this year?
Well, I would say that our junior class is extremely talented. We're going to lose some key seniors, and obviously we want to focus on the present because we still, we have a long way to go and we want to, ultimately get this year. But we do have a lot of juniors playing for us. I think right now we'll probably return 6 or 7 defensive players. We'll probably return 7 offensive players. Got a solid sophomore class and a very talented freshman class. And our freshman class just finished their 8th ball game last night. They're undefeated, and they'll play in a bowl game next week.
Wow. And
our middle school just won the county championship last Saturday. So all that being said, the next couple of years look very good for us if we can keep everybody together and keep getting better. So this is not a one-year thing. We feel like next couple of years we should be really competitive.
The future is bright. Coach, I know you're kind of like me. You like to be prepared for what's coming, and for that reason, I kind of went and projected, the way I feel most of the districts are going to finish, winners and runner-ups, even though none of them have actually been decided yet. Have you kind of looked ahead at all to the playoff possibilities based on, what happens in this game Thursday?
Honestly, no, I have not. Now, I've had people tell me different scenarios, but I think those are going to continue to change. I mean, one of the scenarios I heard was Bradley Central was a possibility, and I know that Bradley Central is borderline. They got to win out, I think, to make the playoffs. So obviously that one would change, and I know they've talked about possibly bumping Ravenwood from west to east. And I mean, it's just again, I've been very vocal and upfront about the fact that I think our playoff system is extremely flawed.
Yes, sir.
I don't like it at all. But and so that being said, I don't spend any time studying it. Mm-hmm. They're going to put us with whoever they put us with. To me, it's not going to make much sense. And we're just going to go. We're fortunate enough to be able to know we're going to get to play a playoff game, and hopefully, more than one if we do what we're supposed to do. But ultimately, we're going to play whoever they send us to play, and we got to get prepared. Whether it's the first round, the one thing I'll say, and I mean, Look, in 2009, we were 8-2 and played a 9-1 Mount Juliet team that we beat. That was the first time the Telos Spud looked at it and said this thing is flawed, and they tried to fix it the next year because they matched up two of the best teams on one side of the state in the first round, which was ridiculous. They changed it after that. But anyway, all that being said, the one thing I'll say about the playoffs is, and I'm a firm believer in this, it doesn't matter whether you play them in the first, second, third. We're not going to get a T-shirt made that says we made the quarterfinals.
Right,
so,
right.
Whether we make it to the second round, whether we get beat in the first round, but whether we make it to the semis, ultimately you want to get to the state championship, and that's your goal. And if you don't do that, you've come up short. So, once you get into the playoffs, it's a 1-week state championship game as far as I'm concerned. You got to win that one. If you don't need to point fingers. You don't need to moan about matchups. That was who you were given, and you got to go out and fulfill the duty. And if you don't, you weren't good enough to win at all.
Yeah, right, Coach. Well, Coach, I don't want to hold you up, buddy. I know it's getting late, but congratulations on what you've done so far this season with 8-0, and then obviously Blackman coming here at 8-0. Who would have thought we're going to be here in Week 9 and we got two undefeated teams battling for the 7 AAA championship? It just really doesn't get any better than that, and we want to thank you for letting us be a part of it, and we wish you nothing but the best of luck.
All right, thank you, Mike. I appreciate it.
All right, Coach. Thank you.